Hi, so this week in MCS 204 we have been looking at the concept of mashups, and basically mashups can be seen as sort of two conflicting pieces of work that are sort of joined together to create one unity and create something a bit different. I've noticed especially sort of this has been apparent at this time of year, especially at the end of last year when they had sort of mashups consisting of all the greatest songs of the year and put them together sort of to create this one new form, which I thought was really interesting. The reading this week was called A Dialect Approach to Film Form by Sergel Eisenstein, and basically I feel that this can link to mashups as it sort of provides this historical outlook and how where they could sort of originate from through looking at montage. But basically, he's a main element to what he discusses is conflict, and he states how sort of conflict is always present in art forms because of its either sort of social mission, nature, or mythology. It sort of obscures truth through sort of being more creativity driven. And then with mythology, he looks at sort of where art is just generally seen as conflicting. He then discusses the term dynamism, which he talks quite a lot about throughout this sort of, and he states which is taking a traditional view into a newer view, and sort of what mashups are really, sort of joining them both together. An interesting way he looks at it is how he states the spatial form of this dynamism is expression, the phases of its tension, which is rhythm. This is true for every art form and indeed for every kind of expression. So he then goes on to talk about the importance of montage and how it's one of the basic elements of cinema, which in the 1940s, when this was written, was basically seen as the biggest art form there was. So he states how montage was originally seen as placing component pieces, which is considered as a rhythm. However, this is something which Eisenstein critiques, and he sort of looks at it a different way and believes that montage is an idea that arises from the collision of independent shots, even opposite to another. So sort of this dramatic principle. And this can be seen like a feature which is in mashups today, as they sort of two different opposing shots joined to create this one. He then talks about the relationship between shots and montage, which, like montage shots, is sort of seen as one of the basic elements to consider. And he discusses how shots work as being sort of this placement together, which overall creates the whole montage. And so for instance, an example of this would be sort of title sequences for films or TV shows, which the example that I created a montage of was the Friends theme tune and the Scrubs theme tune, and just altered the music rhythm to it, so to create a new one and sort of try to link it in separately, which actually worked quite well, but I found it quite hard to necessarily match some of the clips as there was different times, so I had to do a bit of alteration to that through the shots to sort of create this overall sort of clear sort of continuity montage. And overall, he relates back to his sort of theory on conflict and links to montage through stating how sort of there can be either a graphics conflict, a conflict of planes, conflict of volumes, spatial conflict, light conflict, or tempo conflict, just showing sort of the extensity to what can be seen as a conflict and sort of reiterating his ideas. Features from Eisenstein's sort of topic, which he brings up, I feel that can be seen as more modernised today, are sort of how it's progressed into now. Sort of these montages can become commercialised, and whether it be sort of in adverts, sort of visually based, or just print. So, for instance, with I think I've seen a parody mashup of the company FedEx and sort of just their brand logo, where it's sort of the initial Fed, and then instead of having their X and EX, they have the X Factor one sort of joined next to each other, so sort of creating this mashup, which I feel is really interesting, and it kind of highlights the commercial side that it can be seen in rather than just sort of entertainment in this art form. So obviously companies are using this to their benefit as well, and sort of seeing the progression it can be.